Hi little skeletons, it is Disney Queen Skelly here, and welcome back to the fun facts for this channel. Oh my god guys, I am stupid excited to be getting back into the writing for this channel. So today we are coming back with one that I have been really excited to do, Melody Time. So I hope you guys enjoyed these fun facts. Let's go. Because of the controversy about cowboys smoking, the Pecos Bill segment was heavily edited for release to DVD. In the original film, Bill is seen smoking a cigarette in several sequences. The cigarette was edited out in each case, resulting in the removal of almost the entire tornado sequence, and some odd hand and mouth movements for Bill throughout. During the making of this movie, when composer Ken Darby presented the music for the Johnny Appleseed segment to Walt Disney, Walt scorned the music as sounding like New Deal music, to which an enraged Darby shouted back, "That is just a cross-section of one man's opinion." Darby would not be at the studio much long after that. This segment, The Legend of Johnny Appleseed, is one of the rare Disney animated works based on a historical figure. Johnny Appleseed is the historic name of John Chapman, 1774 to 1845, a frontiersman credited with introducing the apple tree to the areas of modern Illinois, Indiana, Ohio, Ontario, Pennsylvania, and West Virginia. As the real Johnny Appleseed, Chapman strictly followed his church's dietary doctrine. He could not use techniques like grafting to improve his apples and had to grow them from the seeds. Hence, they were useless as food due to the small size and bitter taste, and could only be used for making cider. They could never have been used for making pies, as the apple song claims. The cider was actually far more nutritious and safe to drink than the water available in the areas Johnny visited. So by selling his apple seeds to the locals, Johnny actually saved hundreds of lives. This was the third film to team up Donald Duck and Jose Carioca, following Saludos Amigos 1942 and The Three Caballeros 1944. The music used in the section Bumble Boogie is a swing jazz version of The Flight of the Bumblebee 1900 by Nikolai Rimsky-Korsakov 1844 to 1908. Walt Disney originally had the idea to feature this musical piece in his segment of Fantasia 1940, but it was one of several ones that did not make the final cut. Some of the discarded ideas for Fantasia were later reused, and this was one of them. This was the last film which involved the singing group the Andrews Sisters. The sisters were one of the most successful music acts of the 1940s and lent their voices to several films. Their musical careers continued to the early 1970s, but their film careers ended early. One element of the Johnny Appleseed story missing from the film was that John Chapman was a missionary of the new church popularly known as the Swedenborgianism, I think that's how you pronounce it, based on the ideas of Swedish mystic and scientist Emanuel Swedenborg, 1688 to 1772. The ideas of the movement spread to the United States in the 19th century. Chapman is credited to converting several people during his wanderings. A feature of Pecos Bill's background prominently featured in the Disney adaptation is that he was raised by coyotes. This makes him an example of the feral child figure, which has been prominently used in mythology and fiction since antiquity. Among the most prominent examples are Enkidu, Atalanta, Romulus and Remus, Mowgli, and Tarzan. Little Toot 1948 received a comics adaptation in 1948. It was drawn by Harvey Eisenberg. Little Toot went on to star in a few original Disney comic book stories in the 1970s, though he was never a major star in the medium. 47 years later, Disney revisited the Pecos Bill's legend in a live-action film, Tall Tale, 1995. The story of Pecos Bill is narrated to two children. The children are Bobby Driscoll and Luann Patton, the stars of Song of the South 1946 and So Dear to My Heart 1949. Pecos Bill is one of three prominent Disney characters, abandoned in the wilderness and raised by animals. The ugly oops. The others are Mowgli from The Jungle Book 1967 and Tarzan from Tarzan 1999. In all three cases, the story element was part of the original story and later adapted by Disney. At the beginning of the Johnny Appleseed segment, a book of American folklore is seen opening, and 3 pages mentioning legendary American heroes are shown before John's. They are in order Paul Bunyan, John Henry, and Davy Crockett. Disney would later make films about all 3 men: the TV miniseries Davy Crockett, King of the Wild Frontier 1955, and its prequel Davy Crockett and the River Pirates 1956, and the short cartoons Paul Bunyan 1958 and John Henry 2000. The film was the 5th of Disney's package films of the 1940s. It followed Saludos Amigos 1942, The Three Caballeros 1944, Make Mine Music 1946, and Fun and Fancy Free 1947. The segment Little Toot is an adaptation of a popular children's story of the same name. It was created in 1939 by Hardy Gramatke, 1907 to 1979, and remains his most popular work. The music in Blame It on the Samba, 1948, is Apenhi Te Cavaquinho, 1914, by Ernesto I'm gonna butcher this really bad, Nazareth, 1863 to 1934. The English lyrics for the music are original to the film. The character who introduces Donald Duck and Jose Carioca to the pleasures of the samba is the Aracuan bird. He is a minor but memorable Disney character. He was introduced as a rare bird in The Three Caballeros 1944 and co-starred with Donald Duck in Clown of the Jungle in 1947. While he appeared only 3 times in classic Disney films, he was received more prominent treatment in comic books and has been in more recent Disney productions. The character of Picos Bill is supposed to be a figure of traditional folklore and tall tales. However, this status is in dispute and scholars suspect he is actually a figure of fake lore. Fake lore or pseudo-folklore consists of recently invented creations often by a single author who are presented as age-old folklore or traditional works. In the case of Picos Bill, his first appearance in print was in a 1917 short story by Edward O'Reilly. O'Reilly claimed he based his story on a traditional tall tale and went on to publish several others. Soon other writers started using the character, and most notably James Cloyd Bowman, who won an award for his Picos Bill novel. However, there is no evidence that Picos Bill is actually older than the 1910s, and he is considered a likely creation of Edward O'Reilly himself. While popular and widely known, Trees 1913 is considered somewhat controversial. It personifies the tree depicted attributes to its anthropomorphic features, a mouth, arms, hair, and a bosom, and refers to it as a feminine figure. It is otherwise very simple in verse and message that human creations cannot match the beauty of nature. Those who view the poem favorably find it both charming and meaningful. Its detractors consider it overly simple, sentimental, and very dated in style. The poem has had musical adaptations inspired other poems and is often a subject of parody. Disney cuts out the scene of Picos Bill smoking on the Disney Gold Classic Collection DVD, but it retains the scenes of Joe Carioca smoking a cigar in Blame It on the Samba in 1948. Also of note, the edits were done only for the USA release, but not for the rest of the world. Both the Japanese release and the UK contain the smoking segments that were removed. The dance sequences in the Johnny Appleseed segment are recycled from the wedding dance animations in the Martins and the Coys segment from Make Mine Music. The Disney version of Johnny Appleseed has been depicted in a couple of comic book stories. In 1956, he was featured in a crossover story with Chip and Dale. A few of Disney's packaged films in the 1940s are considered anthology films, featuring multiple stories. Melody Time was the last of them to do so. The subsequent packaged film, The Adventures of Ichabod Crane and Mr. Toad 1949, featured only 2 stories. While Disney used the character of Little Toot only once, the character was actually more enduring in literature. He has appeared in a series of published stories. The segment Trees is largely a recitation of the poem Trees 1913 by Joyce Kilmer, 1886 to 1918. It is the author's most popular poem, a lyric poem about the beauty of trees. Kilmer was considered a major poet of his era but died young, killed while serving in World War I. His literary output was consequently rather small. Much of his other work has been forgotten, and his style of poetry largely fell out of fashion by the 1920s. While relatively well received at the time of its release, one main criticism against the film is that not all its segments are of equal quality and impact. The Legend of Johnny Appleseed 1948 and Picos Bill 1948 received the most praise since they are sagas which follow their protagonists from the beginning up to the end of their careers. Animation historians Jerry Beck and Stephen Watts praise some aspects and segments of the film as highly creative and memorable and dismiss the rest as forgettable filler. The film adaptation of Trees 1913 is often overlooked or dismissed as boring, since it features no action or dialogue and actually has no characters. The Disney version of Picos Bill starred in a British comic strip in the 1950s. The Little Toot book series was also adapted as the non-Disney work Shelley Duvall's bedtime stories Little Toot and the Loch Ness Monster, Choo Choo 1992, and The New Adventures of Little Toot 1992. While the character of Picos Bill was likely a recent creation, his name has an older historical basis. Picos Bill was the nickname of William Rufus Shafter, 1835 to 1906, a career military officer who served in the American Civil War, the American Indian Wars, and the Spanish-American War. He was highly decorated for valor and had quite a reputation in his time. Picos Bill is named after the Pecos River, which follows in New Mexico and Texas. Of the on-screen credited cast, only Roy Rogers, Bob Nolan, Sons of the Pioneers, Bobby Driscoll, Luana Patton, and Ethel Smith appear on screen. The rest of the credited cast perform off-screen as musical performers, singing voices, and speaking voices. Roy Rogers was on loan to Walt Disney Productions from Republic Pictures. Of the 7 segments of the film, several were later re-released as individual shorts. Some have fan followings of their own. The first Disney animated feature film to release in June. This would be the case for later films such as The Lady and the Tramp 1955, The Rescuers 1977, The Lion King 1994, Pocahontas 1995, Hunchback of Notre Dame 1996, Hercules 97, Mulan 98, Tarzan 99, Atlantis Lost Empire 01, and Lilo and Stitch 02. The final film of Laverne Andrews. Now folks, this is our one and only spoiler fun fact, so if you do not wish to listen to this, please skip ahead. This segment, The Legend of Johnny Appleseed, is one of the rare Disney animated works to feature religious content. The mentor of Johnny Appleseed is featured as an angel. When Johnny dies, the angel is there to receive his soul and lead him to the afterlife. Johnny also sings about God several times in this segment in his theme song, The Lord is Good to Me. Another segment in this film called Trees, based on the poem by Joyce Kilmer, also mentions God in the poem's verses, and the main tree featured in the segment is shaped like a Christian cross. So thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed the fun facts for Melody Time, and I will see you all in the next one. Bye little skeletons, stay safe, and I love you guys.